Kimberly Burton-Regulski graduated from Towson University in 1998 with a bachelor's degree in mathematics with a secondary education concentration. Ms. Burton-Regulski has taught and currently serves as Mathematics Department Chair at Eastern Technical High School in Baltimore County, Maryland. These are her reflections.
Ms. Burton-Regulski, thank you so much for coming in and taking some of your precious Saturday time to talk to us about your preparation to become a teacher and your subsequent career. This will add mightily to our understanding of the evolution of teacher education at Towson across time. And we always start at the beginning, and the beginning means, would you share with us a little bit about your early social context, where you grew up, what you were thinking about as a child as you moved into high school in terms of a possible career?
Okay. I grew up in Parkville, so I went through Baltimore County public school system, and I started at Oakley Elementary. And when I was probably about 7, I remember wanting to be a teacher. I had really wonderful first and second grade teachers that I really looked up to. And I remember it was picture day in second grade, and you had to pick what career you wanted to be. And I wanted to be a teacher, and I got to hold the teacher's edition of the math book, and I thought that was great at age 7. So that's kind of where it started. And then as I went through, in middle school, I had a really great math teacher. Her name was Lynn Hilditch, and she always made us feel like we were so smart. She would say that we were doing problems that her daughter was doing in college, So in 8th grade, when you're doing something like that, it made you feel really great, and I always wanted to be like her. So, and then that kind of followed through high school. I actually kind of debated between math and art. I had an interest in both, and I was going to be a teacher either way, but it was kind of which one to choose. So I went with math, which I'm happy I did. And then that kind of brought me to Towson.
Now, why Towson?
Probably because it was close to home. I really didn't want to go away.
Yes.
And my family wanted me to stay. I was very close with my grandparents and my mom. And then I got a full scholarship here, so that kind of gave me a good reason to choose Towson.
And that suggests that you did well in high school to get that full scholarship.
I knew that I was going to need to have some kind of scholarship or something.
Of course.
So I worked very hard throughout high school, and it paid off. So
literally.
Yeah, it did.
So tell us a little bit about your experience here.
At Towson, I loved Towson. I loved all my math courses, and then because I was a math major with a secondary ed concentration, I had my education classes and then my math classes. So I really enjoyed it. Mike Crash was my advisor, and he really encouraged me as I went through. And I had some great teachers along the way, especially in the math department. Dr. Hansen, who I still keep in touch with, was my calculus teacher. And I really enjoyed it here. It was a great atmosphere, and I think it prepared me for teaching, especially going through the student teaching process.
Now, do you remember before you actually did your student teaching internships, do you remember having been in schools at all? Did you get to observe, or?
That's the one thing that when I was here we didn't do a lot of. I remember going out for a special ed class. I went back to my high school and observed a couple classes, but I didn't really get out there until my student teaching.
Wow.
So that's the only thing that I'm glad has changed, because at my school we have the PDS program where students come in the fall and get to do a little bit of teaching and observing prior to student teaching, which I think is great. I wish I would have had that piece of it.
Yes, absolutely. So that says, whoa, and that's probably your last semester or close to last semester that you're going to go out and almost be the teacher of record in some math classes. That's a little scary.
It is.
And where did you do your student teaching?
Cockeysville Middle and Patapsco High School. Cockeysville Middle, I had a great cooperating teacher. Her name was Linda Roth, and she was so warm and just helpful and encouraging, and I really enjoyed it. I did, though, want to teach high school. That was my goal.
Did?
Yeah. I liked the middle school, but I definitely wanted to do the upper level math in high school. And my Patapsco experience was a weird mix. I had a consumer math class.
Interesting.
And an AP calculus class for student teaching.
Whoa.
So it was a challenge. But you know, it prepared me. I, you know, got into teaching at Eastern Tech, and I've taught a little bit of everything there.
Tell me a little bit about consumer math.
Yeah, it was a course that was basically, you know, learning to balance a budget and, you know, keeping a checkbook and practical math. And it was kind of a good thing for students that weren't necessarily going to be math majors or anything like that. But unfortunately, that course doesn't exist anymore, at least in Baltimore County. Most students are taking an algebra-based kind of course. So those courses have gone away.
Well, maybe it's something they should consider at a lower grade level, because I think one of the complaints in society general now is the lack of financial literacy.
Right.
People understanding just the kinds of things you were trying to teach.
Right,
So.
and I think that there is a piece of that they've kind of incorporated here and there, but it's definitely not in the high school at all.
So you're at the end of your career here, and you're looking for employment. Fortunately, you're in the field of mathematics,
Right.
which means that there are usually people sort of courting you for a position.
Right.
And so
I ended up at Eastern Technical High School, and it was, at first I was kind of not sure about it because it was it used to be called Eastern Votech, so it was more of a vocational school. So I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to teach upper level math, you know, so I was leery, but then I thought, no, I'm gonna go there. And it has really paid off, because in the 16 years that I've been there, it's transformed itself from a vocational school to now a technical school where most of our students are going to college. So we have a really strong math foundation of classes where our students are getting to AP Calc and AP Statistics, and it's really an academic environment where the kids get to do career major classes. So they get an introduction to things like engineering and IT and allied health, and so it's really the best of both worlds for them and for us too. It's a great place to work. I wouldn't want to teach anywhere else, to be honest.
Well, isn't that wonderful that that turned out to be a growing kind of experience for both you and for the school.
Yeah, it's been amazing to just watch and be part of that, because as a department chairman, when I moved into that position, I really got to be part of the leadership team and start to make decisions and do things that kind of molded the school into what it is now. So I feel like I've contributed to something beyond just teaching my classes, that I've helped build a school into something great.
Wonderful. So when you got there for your first year, just to sort of reminisce a little bit about your early beginnings there.
Yeah, it wasn't what it is now.
And so what was your teaching load like then?
I was teaching something called Algebraic Topics and Trig, which was a standard level course for like juniors and seniors, and then I was teaching an honors college algebra. And no one else in the department was really teaching the trig course that I was teaching, and I was in a classroom that was kind of at the corner of the building, so I didn't have much support. So it was kind of like sink or swim, and you kind of learn how to find your way. So I kind of did that for my first year.
Wow.
And then our assistant principal kind of paired me up with a teacher and she really just encouraged me and kind of worked with me some. But I pretty much, after the first year of kind of finding your way, I was pretty solid of what I needed to do. But she was kind of there just to have a friend, I guess, in the building.
Yeah.
And then kind of it moved on from there. But it was a real learning experience. But I think that's for anyone that just had student teaching and then you come right in because you're learning it all. You know.
Right. And all at the same time. I mean, this is, every lesson plan's a new lesson plan, and
right. Yeah. So then when I became chairman, I made sure that I always gave support to our new teachers because I didn't want them to be in the boat that I was.
Yes.
So it's
And how
important.
long did you teach there before they made you math chair?
I'm trying to think now. Maybe 6 or 7 years. I was chair by then. So.
And what kinds of responsibilities do you take on in that position?
A little bit of everything, I think. I mean, I observe teachers. My department's really great at coming to me to talk about their lessons and what they're going to be doing for observation. So we have a pretty good relationship of talking about instruction. So that piece with the observation process. And then I'm part of the leadership team. So I kind
And
of
who does that include?
our assistant principals and all the department chairmen.
I see.
And then key teachers that want to become leaders, they're on the team also.
I see.
So we get to do different school initiatives, and then, for example, we have a lot of Common Core training that we're getting from Baltimore County that's kind of scripted. So I've kind of taken it and adapted it for our faculty. So I kind of do things like that where professional development kind of things for the faculty too. So.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about Common Core? This is something certainly that is front and center for everybody in public education, certainly in the state of Maryland and in most states. But how has your faculty responded to that? It seems to me there's something related to themes of teaching, or and I imagine it's different at the high school level than it is at elementary or middle school. But
our principal is pretty much, he always likes to keep us kind of ahead of the game, which I think is important
I
because
do
that
too.
makes our school pretty strong. So we've been talking about Common Core and the new evaluation system and everything for a while, much longer than I think most schools have been out there. So we've kind of gotten a handle on it. We know that we're kind of waiting till all the curriculum changes, especially in mathematics right now. We switched the order of our courses. We used to do an Algebra 1, Algebra 2 geometry. Now we've switched to Algebra 1 geometry, Algebra 2. So we're kind of dealing with that change. And then they're rewriting curriculum for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So we're kind of in a waiting game for curriculum. But we've all seen the standards and worked with them. And every school, I think in the state, has sent a team to go to educator effectiveness training, is what they call it, which is all Common Core training. So I was part of that. So you take that training and come back to your school and train, the teachers. So I think we're pretty, educated on what the Common Core is. I think it's going to change a lot once we figure out what the PARCC exam is going to be like, and that's the big mystery right now. We're waiting to see all the PARCC released items come out. We've seen a few, but not enough to really get a handle on what the test is going to be. So until we see that, we're doing our best to meet what Common Core is, but we don't know what the assessment's going to be like. So once we figure out the assessment, then we can really move forward. But I think it'll be a change. It'll be a challenge for our students from what they've told us about PARCC. We're going to have the students to be a little bit more independent problem solvers. So that's going to be a different change.
it certainly is. Do you know who is who's involved in the creation of the PARCC assessment?
I mean, I know PARCC is a team that they've basically paid to write PARCC. I know they have some teachers involved in it, but I don't know the details of the actual.
I see. I just wondered if that, this is one of the things that I noticed in your resume is that you have been a wonderfully strong teacher and administrator in math, and you have won a number of awards, which I would like you to talk about if you would.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think that those kinds of educators would be the kinds of people that we would want to be involved in the creation of the assessment for our students. I just wondered if that was something that you had been invited to be part of.
Right. I haven't been invited to write anything for the PARCC. I did get an email asking if I would review PARCC items, but I haven't. That was just like yesterday that I got the email. So no, I haven't gotten anything, you know, with writing the items. But I would love to have had the chance. But
well, maybe there'll be an opportunity for review or something
Right.
once this is all put in place.
right.
And I would hope that we would have our finest teachers reviewing things, and certainly somebody with the caliber and the length of your service as a math educator, certainly. So, tell us a little bit about some of the recognition you have garnered as a teacher.
The first award that I won was the Maryland Council of Teacher of Mathematics Award. I had done basically a write-up of my teaching, and then they came out and observed a lesson. Actually, Dr. Crash, who was my advisor here, was part of MCTM at the time. And he was the one that observed my lesson and rated it. And then he took it back to a team, and they looked at my resume and everything, and I won the award. So that was a great opportunity. That was the beginning of some of the things that I got to do. And then several years later, I applied for the Presidential Award for mathematics, excellence in mathematics and science teaching is the award. And I won the award, and I was very surprised and very happy because I got to go to the White House and meet President Obama, which was really exciting. I got to go to D.C. for a week and
My
stay.
heavens.
Yeah, and it was around Christmas time, so it was beautiful. It was,
I'm sure.
It was really a dream trip. But I got to interact with teachers from all around the country and learn about different initiatives. The National Science Foundation is the group that actually runs the awards.
I see.
So we got to go to various meetings about math and science and STEM, those
Yes.
kinds of things. And then we toured the White House and got our picture taken with President Obama and with Arnie Duncan. So it was exciting.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm sure well deserved.
Thank you.
That leads me to your thoughts about what are the characteristics, what are the elements that make for a good math teacher or a good teacher? What do you regard as sort of what you should know, be able to do, approach, how you approach students, all of those things?
Well, I think for me, it's always been that I've always felt like you should be a learner yourself, like a lifelong learner. Like every day I go in and think about my lessons and how I can improve them and what I can learn. And I go to a lot of conferences and workshops and work with a lot of teachers and collaborate a lot because I think it's important to keep growing and improving as you go through the years of teaching, not to become stagnant just because you know how to teach a subject. Every group of students is different, so you've got to really look at the content that you're teaching and adapt it. So you really have to be able to adapt and be flexible. I think those are things, especially now with all the changes. I think flexibility is really a key because you have to really, be ready for the next change and just kind of be ready to adapt and keep moving forward that way. And I really think it's just also an underlying commitment to the students that you have a love for your subject, and not every student has that same love, so you have to try to bring that in and really kind of meet their needs. Not every student is a mathematician, so I've taught a wide variety of students in a wide variety of courses. I always think of, what do they need to learn, is there a certain way that it needs to be explained, and tie something into something that they can relate to. So I think that, hard work, teaching is a hard job. It's not easy. So I think you have to be dedicated.
Well, let's talk about the flip side of that. All this hard work, what are the rewards in being a teacher, or at least for you?
Right. I think the other day in my calculus class, one of my students, she just got something, was so excited, and she comes up and she's like, "High five, Miss Burton." And it seems like a little thing, but it was a big thing to her at that moment. And to get to do that every day, I think is, it's a great thing. That's the reward. And then I often have students come back and, tell me how they're doing. And I teach computer science, and I had one student who struggled through computer science the whole year, but he managed to make it through. And the next year he came back and he said, "Wow, my computer science course in college was so easy. I didn't think it was going to be." So those moments where they come back and show that it really paid off, your relationship with them and what you taught them, I think is worth it.
Tell me a little bit about the technology. I would certainly think in relationship to math, that's been probably a major change.
We use the graphing calculator as probably the key tool that we teach the students and we use pretty much on a regular basis. And then I try to incorporate technology in when I can. We have smart boards. We're very fortunate. We have laptops and document cameras in every classroom. So those are really great to show student work at the board. And then the smart boards too. And we also have those, they have different names, but the clickers where the student response systems.
Right.
So I try to incorporate them when I can.
Now, is that part of your being a magnet school, or is this something that is typical throughout Baltimore County?
I think it's partially because we're a magnet. We may get a little bit more funding. Like, for example, I went to the NCTM conference and I saw this robotics kit. It's very, very cool. It has a robot that flies and it has built-in math lessons. They're designed for lessons in Algebra 1 and geometry.
Really?
Yeah, so because we're a magnet and Mr. Evans really wants us to have the technology that's out there and to be current, because we are a technical school. So as a principal, he wants us to be cutting edge. So we were able to get that kit, and we have robots now that we can teach math with. So
wow.
So it's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing.
So I am thankful that I'm at a magnet school for that.
Yes.
So.
I want to know about the robots that fly.
Yeah, it basically it's just like a little helicopter thing that flies up and down, and you can direct it with a tablet, and as you're directing it with a tablet, it's collecting data on the height of the robot in the air over time, and then you can show the students the graph of the robot's flight, and then you can talk about the data from there, and it kind of is an opening to a lesson. So it's really engaging that way.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
So out of that would grow something on a variety of topics.
Right. And there are several in this kit. There are like 4 or 5 different robots that are designed for different types of mathematics. So it's pretty cool. We were kind of, as a math department, wanting to play too.
Of
We're
course.
just as excited as the kids.
Absolutely. So you actually have tried these out now? This is something that you're using with some regularity?
Well, we just got them, so
I
we really,
see.
as a department, have been playing, and so they'll be in the classroom soon. So the kids have seen that we have them and saw us playing with them in the hallway, so they're definitely, we'll definitely be using them.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm sure they're eager to get their hands on them and do things with them. That's great.
Yeah, and it ties in well with our engineering program too, because they do some robotics things in there.
I
so.
see. And could you tell me a little bit about that program?
Yeah, it's one of our career majors.
I see.
They do a lot of hands-on type projects. They build trebuchets and robots, and then they have the engineering design side of it where they learn CAD and different things that are related to math. So they do some math in there also. So it's a great program for them too.
It sounds like it. And where would they take that next? I mean, is that...
They're introduced to a bunch of different fields in engineering.
I
So as soon as they leave onto college, a lot of them already have an idea of which field they want to go into, and they'll go and do that type of engineering. We have a really great set of engineering teachers that really get them prepared. They give them a whole portfolio of things that they've done throughout, and some of the colleges have looked at the portfolio and have given them some college credits because of the work they've done in high school.
How wonderful.
So,
that's great.
it's amazing.
It is amazing. So you probably then have a fairly high percentage of students that go on to college.
We still have some students that go right into work because we have other career majors, like we have construction and auto mechanics, culinary. So that's
Interesting.
Yes, that's a nice plus. We have the Eastern Inn at our school, so we can have lunch. The kids make very nice lunches.
Really?
So they have different experiences. So some go on to work, and we have some students that go on to the military, and then a lot of them are really college bound, and they're really prepared, I think, to go on to college.
That's wonderful. Well, I suppose there certainly are math applications even in the culinary program. One does need to know how to measure after all.
Right.
So that's great. Could you tell me a little bit about your involvement in professional organizations? You had mentioned this a little bit earlier.
In terms of like the MCTM?
Yes.
I've been a member of MCTM, and I've the conference we actually had at our school. So I volunteered to co-chair with another teacher, bringing in the MCTM conference, the yearly conference for Maryland teachers.
Wonderful.
So we had that at our school. That was a nice experience to bring people in for that.
Well, and I think it was a nice location for them to be in, because it sounds like it's a pretty special school. Absolutely.
So I've done things like that. Outside of, I guess, the state, I applied last year to, there's this company called Learn Zillion. They're trying to make online video lessons that are related to the Common Core standards. So I was chosen, there were, I think, 200 or 300 teachers chosen.
From across the country?
Across the country, to basically write these lessons. You were assigned a certain standard, and then you had to write a lesson. And we were given a trip to San Francisco.
Very nice.
And we basically did professional development there. We did get to go to San Francisco one night, but we really were working pretty much every day that I was there. Learning about the Common Core standards and looking at our standards, and we were working on individual lessons, but you were grouped with other teachers to talk about them, and then you were paired with a coach that you would work on your lessons, and the coach would look at it and give you feedback, and then you would eventually videotape your lessons, and then they're working now on getting those to be online. So that was an interesting professional development experience.
Well, and helpful for the end product too. I mean, it just didn't make you a better teacher or a richer teacher. It helped the field considerably. Have you been encouraged at all? Well, you are the department chair still. Has anybody pushed you at all in terms of looking at other administrative kinds of responsibilities?
We had our assistant principal, now she's a principal of Towson High. Her name's Charlene Domino. When she was our AP, she always encouraged me, you should go take the classes. And I had started to take them and then got busy with life, and then I finally recently have finished them. So I have my Administrator 1 certificate.
You do.
So I could then apply to get into the pool to be an AP. My principal, he's encouraging me, he's put my name into like our area superintendent for high schools. And he encourages me, but he really doesn't want me to go.
I know.
So it's kind of two-sided. He would love for me to stay at Eastern as chairman as long as he's there. But he is encouraging me. He's encouraged me to present at the AP conference. I've presented 2 years in a row, so he's encouraged me to do that. And then he's asked me to present at a STEM conference in the spring because he's chairing some committee in that, so he's going to get me to present there. So he is encouraging me to be a leader, but I know he doesn't really want me to leave.
I'm
as
sure he
chairman.
doesn't.
And part of me doesn't want to leave either, because I really do love the school and I've seen it grow, so it's hard to leave something almost like your child. You don't want to leave it. And I love it there, so I kind of want to grow, but I don't want to leave either. I'm torn, so I'm kind of in that
Sure.
place.
Well, and it's not a decision you have to make today.
Right.
So you have time to do that. Has the mathematics department here invited you to do any adjunct teaching for us, or?
Dr. Crash has mentioned it, because I've told him that, I would like in the future to have some opportunities, and I don't know if, at one point I wanted to work in the Baltimore County math office, and they've pretty much hired several new people over the last few years, so I don't think that there will be an opening there. So I'm looking for other opportunities. So I had talked to Dr. Crash the other day. He's like, you could do, some teaching at Towson. So
Student teachers?
right, and then there's also a program here, the You Teach program.
Yes.
Who, one of my teachers, she was our AP Calculus teacher, who I didn't want to leave, came to Towson. She's teaching in the program now, the You Teach program. And she called me the other day, why don't you come and be my partner? She would love for me to be here, but.
Well, it's a big program. It's a very important program, I understand. I don't know all the ins and outs or details of it, but I think it really is, number one, a recognition that we train prepare an insufficient number of people to go into the STEM fields as teachers, and there is some money associated with it too. I think it would certainly be wonderful to have your input onto the program, and I hope that your former colleague is sort of picking your brain somewhat regularly about things they're doing and how they might do them differently. So that would be great. And I'm sure Towson would love to steal you away. It's, when we're doing these things, we really are looking for people who are the best at what they do. And that would include our award-winning math teachers. So that's interesting. What else should we talk about in terms of your career? I'm sort of looking over the questions and thinking, what have I forgotten here?
I mean, as a department chairman, I think I also get a great opportunity to work with young teachers. I have several new teachers in my department, and I really get to mentor them, and that's the part I like being chairman. Chairman's a demanding job.
I'm sure.
And the one part that I always regret that I don't get to do enough of is get out into the classrooms and work with them, weekly, regularly, because you get so busy with other things.
Of course.
But my new teachers, I feel like, are solid, and I really get a chance to work with them when they have observations, and they really feel comfortable coming to me with questions, which makes me very proud that they feel that comfort. I'm especially proud of one of our younger teachers. She wants to teach AP Calculus eventually, and I'm teaching it this year. And she said, well, can you get my free period to be when your class is? And she takes the class with us every day as a student. How
wonderful.
So she's in there every day with the students, taking the tests and doing the drills and doing the problems and working with them as if she is a student. And it's wonderful because she really is getting experience of what the course is like, and she is learning the demands of teaching something that's AP. So it's been a really fun year having her in the class.
And how did the students respond to her as a student?
They like it a lot. It was really funny the first week or two because she looks so young and some of them don't know her. The one boy at parent night, his mom was like, he came home and told me that he didn't realize for like 2 weeks that she was a teacher. So he had just been working with her like she was another student. And they really have a good relationship. They work right there with her, and they tease her and joke with her too. You know, did you get that one wrong? And she'll, you know, she'll tease right back with them. It's really great. It's a good experience for them both.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that students should know that teachers are lifelong learners too. And you may know the content area, but there are other things to learn as well.
Right.
So maybe it'll inspire some of them to consider the field of teaching. Who knows?
Yeah. That's the other thing, that Eastern has a teaching program. Most of the students, I think, are doing elementary or middle, but they get to go out to classrooms in high school and visit and help teachers. So I think that's really a cool thing.
That is.
So it's a new program. In the last few years, they've added it. It's called the Teacher Academy Program. So it's exciting.
And so these are actually the high school students.
Right. They're learning all about teaching. They're taking courses that are pretty much like a foundations education course that you would take at Towson. And they learn all of that, and then they get to do an internship in their senior year, I believe, where they go out to classes in the afternoon and work with kids and teachers.
And do you know if they get any academic credit for that towards a...
Yeah, I'm not sure what they do with that, because it is new and I don't know really the details.
Right. That's interesting as well. Anything else you can think of?
No, you know, it's, you know, teaching pretty much is my life, so I always say that Eastern Tech is like my second home.
I'm sure.
And then, I mean, the only thing is, I guess I should mention, is I couldn't have done it without the support of my husband and my family. He's been in there grading papers and doing things all along the way. So, you know, it's definitely great to have family support at home.
Truly. Our last question always is, what advice, what wisdom would you share with individuals who might be considering a career in teaching?
I think, like I mentioned before, that you've got to go into it, that you've got to keep learning throughout. And that you have to realize that there are going to be tough days and lessons may not work out the first time, and you just have to learn to adapt and try again and pick up and move forward every day. And that it's going to be a lot of work, but it's worth it. You've got to balance out that you know, the success of your students is worth all the time that you put into it. I think those are the main things. And then I would say, initially, when you first start teaching, is you need to find a support system, make friends with other teachers, collaborate, be open to collaborating with other teachers, sharing things, because it makes life a lot easier when you have someone to work with, and you can share and compare and reflect on your lessons with somebody else, not just yourself. So I think that's key too.
Well, and that's something that you would have liked to have had.
Yeah, and I've made sure that since then I really do, and the teachers in my department really get that opportunity.
Yes, which is wonderful. I mean, that was a learning experience for you, and you have you've built in that missing piece for other people,
Right.
which is very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming in and talking with us.
Thank you.
This will be a nice addition.
Thank you.
you.